I'm thankful to have you on tonight's call. Tonight's a unique night because this particular conference call tonight is going to be on YouTube. Um, Last week we had some trouble with the GoToMeeting platform, and I haven't gone in and checked in and seen what was going on with that. We did towards the end of that broadcast. We're able to get into the GoToMeeting platform and work it out. So apologize for those technical problems. Um, at some point we'll have somebody take care of all that technical stuff so that I can just focus on content and have those tech experts deal with these kind of things so I don't have to mess with them. So I'm glad you're on, and I'm glad we're live. I'll do my best to catch your questions in the comment section. One of the things we're going to do a little differently than we've done in the past, and normally at the 7 o'clock hour, I would field questions for state citizen and our passport process and all that. And at the 8 o'clock hour, I would handle the content that I wanted to handle that week or something like that. But tonight, and starting with tonight, I'm going to reverse that. So in the future, at the 7 o'clock hour, I'm going to handle the subject matter. Then after I handle the subject matter, then we'll break into Q&A and I'll answer questions and things like that. Then we get that out of the way, and people can we can get into spending as much time as we need on questions. We've been inundated with questions with some of the videos that have been out, and that's the goal tonight, is to be able to answer your questions and things like that. So I'll look for some of those things, and but I want to handle the topic of tonight, and that is the question that comes along all the time is, if you do these processes, if you pull out of the federal zone, eliminate income tax liability, things like that, or bring forward your state citizenship, do I lose my Social Security, that kind of thing. And a lot of times when people are signing up for our process, we require a hold harmless agreement. And one of the first questions on the hold harmless agreement is, are you receiving any benefits from the District of Columbia or from any federal or state agency and such as that? And for those of us in the freedom community, understand that all taxation is collected under the pains of death. I love telling that to people when they talk about the wonderfulness of taxation, and so when they're talking about the school taxes that you pay in your property taxes, and I say, well, is it really worth collecting those taxes under pain of death? They don't understand what that even means. But I say, well, just try not to pay them. If they're connected to your property, then and you say, this is the school tax, I'm not paying it because I'm against it morally or whatever it is. See if the town won't put a lien on your property and then go to confiscate or and due process with respect to not paying taxes and such and that. See if you can hold on to your property through the courts, and then when they compel it or they throw you off your property, and they do that by force, and if you defend yourself, then men with guns are going to come in and try to remove you by force if necessary. There'll be charges against you, and there'll be prosecutions, and they'll want to put you in a cage and such as that, if you don't want to pay the education for the communist kids. So all taxes are collected under pain of death. Because of that, I have a moral mindset with respect to receiving taxpayer funds for myself, my privileges and such as that. So anyway, so when we talk about, do you receive any money from any government, you have to realize that this isn't charity. When churches and civic organizations would care for the people contributed to those organizations freely because they were good idea organizations and people cared for people like churches. But when government comes along and competes with with church for the care of people, how is the church to compete when they're collecting their money by asking people to contribute to a good cause, and government that doesn't ask, that collects by pain of death, and they're going to take care of the people, and then of course do a crappy job of actually taking care of people because you have the middle bureaucrats in the middle of it. And don't think that it's not in the interest of government to be paying out so little while collecting so much, if that's not good business for them, you know. So, so I have a moral reason for not receiving benefit. So when we're talking about Social Security, a lot of times, I just got frustrated, I guess, yesterday or so when I read my, 10th, 40, 50 times, and certainly I've been at this 20 years where people come along, can I do these processes and still keep or receive or keep my Social Security? And I always let them know. I said, when we do these processes, there's no triggering. And, sometimes people still receive Social Security, do these processes. They don't have a tax liability. But I always tell them that when you're receiving money from the District of Columbia, when you're receiving benefits from the District of Columbia, you're creating a tax liability for yourself. There's two ways to participate in Social Security. Paying in, that's going to imply that you have that obligation if you're freely paying in. And when I say freely paying in, that means if you're employed by a company and you have filled out a W-4 form, you have empowered and freely invited your employer to withhold on your behalf. That's what a W-4 form is. And of course, that's only for federal citizens and resident aliens. So a lot of times there'll even be these revocation of election remedies and other things where people, they want to believe or think that this process is about taxation. It is not. Okay. Not having an income tax liability is the byproduct of not being in the federal zone. Okay. So it's and when someone says with respect to dealing with the income tax, one particular tax, okay, one particular tax that's more in your power and control than you imagine, but nonetheless, they say like, well, I don't pay taxes. Listen, state for the record, in America and the world, we all are overtaxed. We're taxed in everything without exception. So the idea is that you're not taxed is just not true. So yes, we're overtaxed. So this is just one tax. So getting back to Social Security, many times people have remedies like revocation of election in which they're still paying in Social Security. These are people that are not outside of federal jurisdiction. And so again, it creates a tax liability for them. We know that, because we've had clients over the years, that IRS will take money from the Social Security fund away from the recipient if they're collecting Social Security, and the IRS is determining that they have, they'll do a paperwork like as if somebody is filing, like the IRS is filing a return for you. And so they'll do it for the federal citizen if they don't fill out a tax form on their own. So the idea is again, people are asking, can I do this while receiving Social Security? And what I've said over the years is that I'd be remiss to tell you that you're not in federal jurisdiction if you're still receiving Social Security. I recommend this, okay? All out or all in. Don't ride this fence. You'll lose, I promise you, okay? And so some people will continue to receive Social Security and just let it be there. And of course, they're not filing and all that stuff. That plays out. And we have found, our experience has been that if you file honestly and that you pay the taxes on the monies received from Social Security, and of course, you're not filing and including money that you make outside of the District of Columbia, the IRS is still going to determine it's a frivolous return. And of course, they may also charge $5,000 for that return. So again, we think that's a bad remedy to do any filing of any sort. even if you were filing it with an explanatory statement without the United States, all of that. We know the IRS just considers it a frivolous return, and can, doesn't mean they will. They can, charge $5,000 for a frivolous return. So we don't want that for anybody that we're working with, and so that becomes a concern. So that's what I had said in the past, is like, I just wouldn't tell you this is the line and blah blah blah. Um, and like yesterday, I just I just got tired of it. I got tired of just having that conversation with people, and so I came to the place, and we'll inform our clients accordingly, that the answer to that question is, can you do these processes and still save, be on Social Security, or anticipate getting Social Security, or wanting anything to do with Social Security? The answer to that question now is no, you cannot. Okay. And the reason it is because I'm not, it's so frustrating to deal with people who are unwilling or even unable to not be free from the federal zone. Okay. And again, some part of me, I get it that people pay in for a long time. All that stuff is true. Of course they've been ripped off. What I like to say is, hey, you trusted your government, you screwed up. That's the first place. You trusted your government, you screwed up. Own that. I mean, listen, when I realized that I didn't have an income tax liability, I was working for myself. It was it was just like, all the years I paid in, I was like glad not to receive a nickel from these pedophiles, those people in the District of Columbia and all that stuff, glad, I was saying, well, my mom could have it. She's passed already, so she probably didn't get it. Or one of my siblings or whatever, that, they may be on Social Security, and, God bless them, they can have mine. Because listen, what is the federal government paying you when they're giving you that money? It isn't, there is no trust fund for Social Security. They've already depleted that and put Social Security in the general fund. That's a historical fact. How much money does the federal government have? Nothing. Not only, if they had nothing, that would be more than what they are really in now, which is, 23 or $32 trillion in debt. They have nothing. So the way Social Security was working is, there's people paying into the Social Security fund, whatever that is on paper, and there's people that are on Social Security. And the thing about it is, listen, folks, Social Security is Social Security disability, Social Security benefits, whatever, that fund that pays every child that the adult, the mother or father that dies as a child, they get Social Security disability because their parent died. That's a thing. And there's many other ways that people file and ask for Social Security funds. They give it out to everybody. So it isn't about a retirement program. Just so you know, just so you're clear that that's not what it is. I see these memes on Facebook where it says like, don't tell me that Social Security is an entitlement because I paid into it, and blah blah, just ignorant rubbish. I always like to spank those people. It's like, well, here's what I'd say to them. Here's what I say to them. I say, well, you obviously, I would write this. I'd say, how ignorant. You obviously have never read the 1935 Social Security Act. You know what? It doesn't matter what you think about it. It doesn't matter what you were fantasizing about it. Have you ever bought a car from a dealership? One of the lines on the contract says, hey, whatever the sales guy told you, it has no bearing on this contract. Here's what you're paying, and it doesn't matter what the sales guy promised you. That's in the contract. So I just want you to know the pedophile, pretended representative who's in the Congress, or the fool that's in the White House, or any of those people in DC, whatever they told you about the Social Security, the Social Security fund and their vote to keep it or not to keep it. Those lies, that's what you're buying. And if you're continuing to buy into the lies at this point, then what hope have you? Do you really think do you really think that when some revolution is occurring, you're going to grab your gun and shoot somebody? Come on. You can't even take care of yourself. You can't even take care of yourself. If you are at age of retirement and you have only relied on the federal government for your sustenance, my friend, you've wasted a huge resource called your life. And your father obviously wasn't knowledgeable enough, um, you know, sad to say, to be able to instruct you enough to say, hey, listen, don't rely upon your government because they're not going to be there when you need them. Matter of fact, they're the biggest problem with the planet anyway. So again, there's a huge breakdown in people's care. Now, the two categories of people that are on government welfare, and the reason I say that is because, listen, just read the 1935 Social Security Act. It's called senior welfare, okay? That's what it is. That's what it's called. And it always was voluntary in the sense that, now, when you're working for a corporation and they're doing all their stuff, they're paying into Social Security because you've allowed them by filling out a W-4 form. As a contractor, if you're paying taxes and all that, they invite you into paying Social Security and all that stuff. And again, we did that willingly because we were filling out those forms, okay? But again, that's how whole thing's playing out. And we have compassion on people that are in that position. Now, listen, I have patriots who are in their 80s, even 90s, that are coming out of this and saying, I don't want to give these people another nickel. And the thing about it is that I sometimes say, why are you even doing this at your age? You're at the very end of your life, if you will. And so now you're going to take a tax stand with respect to your life. And it's like better late than never. And sometimes these old people are so, righteously indignant with respect to the way things are going on. They have such a passion. I have great respect for them. And sometimes I say, listen, it isn't worth it. Fund something that promotes liberty and freedom in the ending of your life and such. There's honor in that. And I've had an old elderly client that wanted to set up a trust. And of course, we only have state citizens on our trust and all that stuff. And he wanted to move property into his trust. And I said, well, how, do you think, what about your family? Do you think after you pass that they're going to want to be trustees and do these processes? Well, if they don't, they're not going to control those assets. To hell with them. If they don't want to come out of the federal zone, even though I've been inviting them and asking them, well, then to hell with them. They don't get the money. And I'm like, wow, that's astonishing. They set up trusts. And these older people are passionate about that when they learn about that. But again, nobody can tell you what level of economy that is yours. It's part of your pursuit of happiness. And as much as I can say, hey, listen, all out or all in. But I want you to examine yourself about your thoughts that you want to be connected to the district of pedophiles in the later part of your life. And if you have a few years before retirement, it is available for you to create something that makes enough money for yourself, outside of the federal zone. Listen, $1,600 a month is minimum wage. If you at 65 years old can't create enough wealth that's greater than job entry level minimum wage, how much of your life have you squandered in your capacity and talents to create wealth or to care for yourself? What a dishonoring toward your God that you would trust your government and not trust God for your sustenance. And then there's people that are saying, like, I paid in, they feel, ripped off. and they're like, I paid in. Can I still receive Social Security when I come of age and do these processes? Again, I've said before, is like, well, I'd say this and that about, walking the lines. Like, so the answer now is no. Your first responsibility, if you want to do these things, is to become responsible for yourself. And yes, don't be afraid. Starting your own business is nothing more than saying, hey, I want to serve somebody. And it doesn't cost money. It doesn't cost money to launch your own business. Those days are over. Oh my God. Listen, you can have a free YouTube channel and put enough content out there to start making money. And of course, you want to keep that out of the federal zone. You'd have to do proper paperwork with YouTube if that's what you want to do. But you can start a service business and things like that. What? At my age, start a business. I'm not saying start working a job. I said start a business. Well, what is it you want to do? How do you want to serve people? Let me tell you, the service industry is at its best when people are at their best. And listen, if I suggest to someone my age or older or whatever, even a young person, even at 16, we tell our clients that do not prepare your children for the labor force. Don't prepare your children to make wages. Prepare your children to make profits and to make money, and that they own something that makes them money. Okay? And so imagine a 16-year-old, all right? Someone who says, oh, my neighbor here, she works really well. I want to pay her. Here's a 16-year-old speaking. I want to pay her. She's a cleaner. I'll go get her contracts, and I'll set up the contract with the client, and I'll pay her half. I'll make half. We'll do 50-50. It's his contract. They're paying them more than they would make on their own. And he does that again and again. And all of a sudden, a 16-year-old, up maybe even 18-year-old or younger, has 3, 4, 5, 7 women or men or whatever working for him. Oh, how do they do? Just because they can. That's what parents should prepare children for. If you have skills, you're an electrician, well then set up a business that helps young people come into that field. Show them the ropes so that they don't have to make the mistakes you made over the years. If you have grandchildren, or say children or grandchildren, then help them be financially secure, and then create that family business. Take a little bit off the top. That's your retirement, and give it to your family so that they can prosper. This is what good people do when they take care of their families. Don't let the government take care of your family. You take care of your family. So I had this idea. Of wanting to start an adoption program for families that don't have grandparents for their kids. And so what they would do is that I would invite them, I'd have this website, invite people to willingly give up Social Security, and that they would connect themselves with a family who's longing for a grandma or a grandpa, come in. That family would adopt that senior, take care of them, at least match those Social Security funds. And then that grandma or grandpa would, make themselves available to those grandkids and love them up and support them and be that kind of grandparent, and let those people, those parents who have the means to care for people, adopt that newly released senior citizen, and they no longer have to be on the dole for Washington, D.C. Wouldn't that be a great adoption program? Would you like to adopt a new old senior citizen? They're really cute. You go in and they're wagging their tail, and they like to come in and they'd like to love up your family and all that stuff. They're good people, We don't want to see them put down like that, It's crazy, isn't it? So we're talking about in our culture. Are we going to take care of our seniors, or are we expecting our government to take care of our seniors? Because the government's God. God will take care of our seniors, or any other welfare program for that matter. What a stinking mess. How's our government taking care of homeless people? How's our government taking care of our vets? Not so good. What a crock of crap. How's our government taking care of the politicians? Ooh, pretty good. They're doing really well. How's our government taking care of big pharma? Really good. Big bank and big food and all these mega corporations. How's our government taking care of those corporations? Really good. It's a stinking mess. So my sentiment is, it's available, and man, I sometimes I want to touch your sensibilities. I want to say to these men or these women or whatever, and and it's sad because the Bible encourages us to care for widows and certainly widows, widowers, and orphans and such as that. We're charged to take care of those people. Well, what about our seniors? Aren't our families supposed to take care of our parents and such as that? But you see, you don't have to if the government's going to take care of your parents. Hey, it's free money. What a bunch of junk. So that's just, problematic. So the idea is, and again, I want to touch their sensibilities. I want to say to these people, grow up. Don't give up freedom for safety. Look, one of the exercises I give to our, older clients that are coming off Social Security, I said, listen, do a Google search, look up launching my career at age 70, 60, 70, even launching my career at 80, whatever. Look up successful people who have started some kind of business at that age. It's miraculous. It depends upon the individual, what they see as possible. Who invented retirement? What a terrible thing. When we talk about work, we're talking about serving other people. Okay. And what a beautiful way for your own business where you're serving your clients. Those are people. See, when you're serving a corporation, it's the corporation that's serving people. Let me tell you, when people are moving away from the family farm, the family business, and they started working for corporation, we moved into fascism because Mussolini defined fascism as corporatism. And so when you see government in bed with or married to business, that is fascism. That's not that's not capitalism per se. When we talk about capitalism, we're talking about people controlling their own assets. That is capitalism, when the people are in control of their assets. When government's in control of assets, that's going to be fascism. And so that's all about communism and all that stuff. So my one of the things I say is when I want to touch the sensibilities of our senior citizens and all that stuff, I will say and I have said this, I've said to my seniors, well, listen, if you'll agree to go off the senior welfare, I'll take care of you and I'll cut you a check every month. Tell me how much it is. But as part of the fair deal, I'll take care of you, but I need you to wear diapers, okay? I want you to wear diapers on the outside so everybody can see you're a baby, okay? Because you can be my dependent. I'll take care of you. You know, it's sad. And and I hope that people are offended because what? Of course, they're tricked and deceived. I get it. All of us were. But grow up at some point and realize these people that you're relying upon to take care of you in the future, which is diminishing all the time, and their relationship with the bank is more important than you. And so your dollar that you earned, hard dollar, they're not only going to give your dollar back to you, they're going to tax you on that again. And then they're going to, because interest rates, and because the central banks and their relationship with them, they're going to devalue your dollar every year by 15% or greater. That's a screwing, my friend. That's not taking care of you in your senior years. So stop looking to them to take care of you. Who is around you? Who may become an asset to your community? Work for your family business. What does that mean? Listen, answer the phone. Do whatever it is you have to do. Work until you're dead. And it doesn't, and I'm not talking about getting a job. We're talking about serving people. So if your family, you're one of your family members has a business, then just contract with them. Or even if you don't, and they take care of you. Of course, you're going to work and take care of things around the home. Of course, you're going to do those things. That's what senior citizens do until the day they physically are incapacitated. And then the children or your community, your church or whatever, will love you until you pass on. That's community and that's love. So the answer to your question, if you're asking me, can you do this with Social Security? To these days, I'm now going to say no, you're not. If you're going to do this to where you're no longer having an income tax liability, then I want to empower you and I want to help you move from wherever you are tied to the federal government to being responsible for yourself. Do not give up freedom for safety. And that's what you're inviting into doing. And I don't want to be a part of you if you're unwilling to take that stand. Because truly, if the shit hits the fan and we start having to defend our very lives by force, where are you going to be? You're going to say, oh, listen, I can't fight you here because I don't want to lose my Social Security. Give me a break. So what a mess. Listen, I got to believe that this conversation happened at the Revolutionary War as well. There were people saying like, look, I great benefit from being connected to England in some way or Great Britain. I don't want to cut myself off from that. I've invested in that. Well, then go and lick the boots of those that that you have chains with. Whatever the founder said. You will forget that you're our countrymen. Harsh words, I don't know, but can you imagine being a slave on the plantation? And they were feeding you, they were clothing you, they were you sometimes you might have your own cabin and your children while on the plantation working for the master. And so have you watched that film, The Jones Plantation? If you haven't, look up online, pay the $10 to support the production, buy the DVD or whatever it is, but watch it because they're talking about this right here. Can you imagine saying to the slave that's been enslaved on the property these years in the plantation and said, well, would you like to leave the plantation? Oh, well, who's going to take care of me in my older years? Really? Really? I don't think people that were actually on those plantations back there would think that way. And yet, I know when I've read Frederick Douglass, some of those slaves were thinking that because they were afraid and they were ignorant. And many of them didn't know how to take care of themselves, sad to say. But that's the price of freedom, my friends. It's the price of saying, I, with God's help, am able to take care of myself. And listen, you're not alone. I want to help you. I want to help you be self-sufficient and be separate from the district of criminals, So anyway, that's what I wanted to share on that. And, and just invite you into let it go. We'll stay connected to you and it'll be an awesome time. You will be able to be outside of the federal zone from here on out, and that'll be great. We'll do your passport process. We'll make those declarations. You can walk away from being a citizen of the District of Columbia and be a citizen of your state where you have your habitation and domicile. Okay? So thanks for that. And I want to get into answering some of your questions tonight. So I appreciate you. Let's see. Let me see if I can catch some of these things here. Wow. Got some, let's see. Couldn't find a link on the conference page at Destination Freedom. Yeah, the conference call, we took it off this tonight for the go-to meeting. We wanted to remove it because we wanted to bring everybody to the YouTube channel for this evening for this particular call. That's great. And let's see here. Just checking to see if I'm properly connected. Yep. Person says they wrote a letter to the California DMV director on, yeah, okay, that's cool. And it says, and I still haven't heard back. I want to call them back, but can't find phone number. to the director's office. What should I do? Listen, here's what you do, Paul. You call me. You're a client. I'll be glad to help you with those processes. Okay. I don't really want to help you. In the room with all these people in there. So, but again, I'd be glad to answer that. That's a general question. But you're looking for service, Paul. I'll be glad to take that. So you have my cell phone number. Just give me a call tomorrow, and I'll talk to you about that specifically and help you on there. Okay. Uh, Kids' lemonade stands are being shut down everywhere. Well, I suggest have your kids do a lemonade speakeasy. It's awesome. What a stand that what a stand. Hey, Martha, good to see you. What a stand for your child to see how you deal with the bureaucracy. Get involved. Find out who would want to tax or shut down the lemonade stand. Find out why. Maybe it's because your property is residential and it's not private property. And so, but let your kid experience the tyranny of his lemonade stand. So bring your child to the selectmen's meeting and talk to them and let your child see how you deal with that tyranny. That's a great homeschooling lesson. What an awesome thing. Or if it's taxation, then take some of the profits from the lemonade stand and say, son, let's go on down and find out how the town is using a piece of your action on here. Teach them about taxation. That's a good thing for a start business. I agree. That's cool. How's our government taking care of a home full of people? Exactly. Um, Luis, where do you start? Well, if you want to move forward on these processes, then you go to destinationfreedom.org, and you can sign up for the full passport process where we do your paperwork, or you can sign up for the passport workshop, and you can do your own paperwork. We have templates, videos for you to learn these things, and that's there on the website. All of our videos are on demand for you to, once you sign up for it and get access to them, you can watch them at your leisure. They're not scheduled for a particular time. You can always watch them again and again as often as you like. You'll be able to log in and get access to your account that way. So that's a great time for that. I do have a whole slew of questions that I can go over after this time, so we make sure we get some of the things answered for you. And so we have a question: can you share the method you use to exit the federal zone? There are many methods. People like Anna Von Wright, State National. Uh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's really quite simple. There's two types of citizens in the United States: federal citizens, that's a 14th Amendment citizen. That's how the federal government defines that. Those 14th Amendment citizens have a tax liability. And so we do a passport process under penalty of perjury, rejecting that 14th Amendment citizenship, not interested in being in the District of Columbia. And we establish your state citizenship, which is based upon your habitation and domicile, not residency. And so that's the process. Once we do that passport process, then we get certified copies of your passport file that you can hold. They're signed, your wedding signature by the Secretary of the United States. Those are your documents for your evidence if you need evidence. If you were ever in IRS court, that would be what you'd use in court. Unlike the Browns, who the IRS used their passport applications in court against them, establishing their federal citizenship. And they had said, let me see, when traveling abroad, you are a U.S. citizen, but when it comes to paying your taxes, you're not. That's a very common thing. So we don't do A for V or straw man or any of that stuff. We don't participate in any of it. And there's a number of other things I won't get into on this call here, but generally speaking, that is how we do that process. And then we have an alignment workshop and other workshops to support those clients, and that way they stay out of the federal zone. We have documents that you can use when asked for a tax ID number or social. You can present documents then where you're exempt from those things, but you have to sign those documents under penalty of perjury. They are designed specifically for the state citizen, and so we have that support and help for clients accordingly. So that's exciting for people. But again, you can do that at the DestinationFreedom.org website. Someone says they have a question: should tax returns be current before proceeding, and how would you apply California? I saw your question written down. You must have written that in our contact us page. That was interesting. So that's a very good question, and that's really for you to decide, because some people say they've never had a tax liability, so they want to stop immediately. But that's if you've been paying in or how you've been paying in, you want to stop paying in first, okay? And then if you're going to file a return, file that and all that before you begin the passport process, because you're going to be submitting documents under penalty of perjury with the State Department as true and correct. So you won't be able to fill out those forms afterwards because you'll be perjuring yourself. And unless you're Bill Clinton, you can't perjure yourself without going to jail or being prosecuted in some capacity. So that's what I would recommend. And now, as far as with the California Franchise Tax Board, they base, as well as all the states' income tax liabilities, are based in the federal. If you don't have a federal income tax liability, you won't have a state income tax liability because they're based in the same. And the way you know that is that you look up the California tax law so you can read the law. Don't look up instructions, because those instructions are for the people who have those liabilities. You want to read the law so you can determine, the basis in which they begin that form of taxation. So anyway, this person says they never applied for or have a passport. Well, I have to pay the passport prices to change one if I never had one. Yeah, you have to pay for you have to pay for the passport process. Yes, you will, if you've never had one. And if you've had one before, you're going to have to turn that one in and get new passport and let the State Department know that the previous application had errors on it. And so that's part of that. And so and we help facilitate that. We have that information for people. And then and of course, you have to pay the State Department for that because they need someone to love them and take care of them. So, but yeah, they have fees for all that. Oh, this is cool. This is thanks for being on, Martha. Says, what should I do when it comes time for me to receive an inheritance with tax forms, explanatory statements, etc.? That's a great question. And of course, however that's coming your way, if something you've set up, like an insurance policy or whatever, you probably set it up as a federal citizen. They'll have forms they want you to fill out. You can't fill out forms as a state citizen. Now Martha's you can't fill out forms as a federal citizen. Martha is a state citizen. She's done all these processes. But yeah, you're going to read forms, see what they say. You won't have anything to file with respect to that. But whatever form it's in, they're going to want to move it towards you. Now, in our alignment workshop, as well as in our 1445 workshop that deals with real estate transactions, understanding the 1445 real estate transaction, and that they're asking for what they call FERPTA, or they're going to determine that if you're giving them a certificate of foreign status saying that you're foreign to the District of Columbia, they're going to assume that you're a resident alien, and therefore they think that if you're an alien here, whatever that is, their forms say United States. You're not an alien in the United States like a resident alien. You would be non-resident and alien. So they're trying to deal with you as if you're a resident alien with a tax liability. You wouldn't be either of those. I was just helping a client the other day talk to a title company where they weren't understanding the forms because they're not trained in them. So you have to explain to people that You did this process. You're different. They may not understand or realize that these are real situations that people make these changes, and help them to understand a little bit, or to let them know these are my documents. I have no other documents for you and will not, because your documents are yours and they're signed under penalty of perjury as true, correct, and complete. Of course, ours under penalty of perjury are just true and correct. Complete's not part of 28 USC 1746. So anyway, and of course, Martha, if that's not a good enough answer for you, just give me a buzz. You have my number. Um, this person says, I just applied for Social Security because you're fined if Part B is not timely filed. Yeah, see, if you're a federal citizen and you don't do it the right way, of course you're fined. So if you're a federal citizen, you got to jump through the hoops, because that's what they do. So if you don't want to be a federal citizen and you want to be a citizen of your state, you have no such obligations. When the Affordable Care Act was passed, and they were saying there's a $99 fine if you don't sign up. Well, I didn't sign up, and of course I'm not fined for that because I'm not a federal citizen. It's only a federal citizen or resident alien is fined $99 if they don't sign up. So I just didn't participate, and that can be that way for you too. And I'm sorry that you're signing up or for Social Security. You can pull back on that and then just be responsible for yourself. But again, that's up to you and what you see your future looking like. Within 3 months prior to the, now what a bummer, you see, to come learn something right at the place where they're going to offer you the free money. What a difficult place to be. It could be a joy. It depends on how you relate. Person says, how do you proceed if a company will not accept your documents? All you can do is submit them. You can't make anybody accept anything, How do I get a company to accept my documents? Well, there's depends on the company or what it is you're due. What kind of company you're talking about that's asking for you? They're the ones asking for your documents. Give them the documents they're asking for. If they're tax documents, your only documents are W-8 and W-9. You just hand it to them. What they do with it is their business. They want to throw it away, whatever. But they have obligations to keep things if you've submitted it, because they may be in trouble with IRS. So these documents are for their records. They do with it or don't do with it at their own peril. It's none of your business what their government wants to do with them. Don't worry about that. But again, you should have good paperwork. Person says, by changing my citizenship status, will that affect my Second Amendment rights in any way? Oh, that's a good word. Your current status, you have no Second Amendment rights. As you know, by federal gun laws, those apply to federal citizens and resident aliens. So a federal citizen is not protected by the Second Amendment. Why is that? Because Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution gives the federal government exclusive legislative authority in all cases whatsoever in their jurisdiction, the 10 square miles DC. And of course, a 14th Amendment citizen is a citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So as a federal citizen, you have no Second Amendment protection, because there's no such thing as Second Amendment rights. Okay? There's no such thing as that. It doesn't say that. Your right to defend yourself is the right, not the constitutional amendment right. There's no such thing as that. Okay, so it's a misnomer. Okay, it's a limitation on the federal government. Shall not infringe your right to defend yourself. And again, it's your right to defend yourself. It's your armaments. It's not a right to guns. It includes guns, bows and arrows, nuclear bombs, whatever it is, you have to protect yourself to keep yourself alive. There is no limitation on it, okay? Therefore, the federal government's limited. You as a state citizen would have those protections. As a federal citizen, you do not. And that's how federal gun laws work. Person says, Hope that's helpful. So just ignore Social Security. Well, what else? Social Security? You mean like the administration or your the enticement of your money sitting there? So I don't know. I don't know what ignoring Social Security means. Um, Person says, what if you were born in the territory of Puerto Rico and therefore are a Puerto Rican citizen? Yes. It says, is it still a real state status? Um, are U.S. territories and their citizens considered to be federal? Yes, of course. If you were born in Puerto Rico, you're not in charge of that. So it doesn't, it they the federal government considers you a citizen of your of a citizen of the District of Columbia, if you will, a U.S. citizen. In order for you to be a state citizen, which is based in habitation and domicile, not birth, then you'd have to move to one of the states. Then you would be a state citizen. Okay, that's how that works. So if that works that way, then you're good to go. Um, how the federal government looks at you, you would have a birth certificate in Puerto Rico. I think you would qualify for a passport, but you would be qualifying that passport as a state citizen, which is, again is based in habitation and domicile. Um, let's see here, and it says. Are U.S. territories and their citizens considered to be federal? Of course, yes. U.S. territories and their citizens they are considered citizens of the District of Columbia or citizens, 14th Amendment citizens in that capacity. It says the Revenue Act of 1861 levied a tax, levied a tax on income of the citizens of the several states. What was the legal basis for the Congress to do that? Does that uh, basis still exist? Um, that was I'd have to look at the act to see what it is. You'd have to look and see if that act was ever repealed. But the thing about it is that the federal government in 1861 still had no authority to tax the fruit of the labor of anyone. If it's their citizen, it's a different matter. But that might be for I don't see that the citizens of the several states um, would have agreed to an income tax even at that point. They would have gone to war. They did go to war. That made Civil War was part of that, but was a legal basis for that. Again, I'd have to look in that and look at how that plays out. Again, that's not how the IRS is dealing with things today. I'm interested in that person's question. Chris, you may have jumped over it. Let's see, for perhaps missed your answer. Not sure what that is. Person says they work for a corporate healthcare system and filled out a W-4 form, of course. Can you opt out of it if it's a corporation? This is what I say. No one is going to take a tax stand as an employee. End of story, full stop. Just like Social Security. You're not going to be receiving benefits from a corporation tied to government. All corporations, without exception, are tied to government at some level. Okay? There's no such thing as a right to incorporate. It's a privilege, and the government taxes and regulates that. So if you want to contract with that company in some capacity, then by all means, you can be responsible for your own taxes, and they won't be withholding and such as that. So you have empowered them to do withholding for you. There's no way to opt out. The corporation won't allow you to work for them as an employee if you don't fill out that W-4 form. And of course, the payroll is going to want to withhold and do all those things. Again, we'd be glad to assist you in reaching out to human resources and say, I did a process with the State Department and I no longer have income tax liability. I can't be employed. I can contract with the company, but I can't be employed. I'm on my own to freelance and to do my own thing. That's what we want you to do. And if you are valuable to the company and they realize they can make money with or by you, they will agree. If you're not that important, well, then you're going to find a different career. And we're glad to help assist you in that. It says here, so person says they like to set up a consult call to begin the passport process and like clarification on the California hold harmless agreement between 1920. Yeah, I'll answer or help you with that. You don't have to set up a consultation. Read over the hold harmless agreement. There are a number of provisions. When you initial, you're initialing that you have read and understand the provision. You're not making choices with the initial. The initial just says, I read it, I understand it. If you don't understand it, then of course reach out to us. I'll be glad to talk to you about any provision. When you get down to 19 or 20, there's a choice between release or non-release, okay? Most people release from harm, and what they're saying is that they agree to arbitration as a way of resolving disagreement or what have you. And so you're waiving, you're not giving it up, you're waiving the right to trial by jury or trial of any sort, to litigate, to sue. And so you would sign your name in number 19 for that release. If you're choosing to retain the right to sue, of course, you're still releasing, but you're going to sign number 20, not both, either or, 19 or 20. If you're going to sign number 20, and you'd have to be a part of a class of people that are retaining that right, that would be an extra $1,000 to be a part of that class of people. And of course, I think one time we had a client do that, and I still think they did the release, but they had already paid the $1,000. I asked them if they wanted it back. They did not. They were glad to, that's their choice and all that stuff. So people support us for different reasons. But anyway, I think it was the only time that I'd seen anybody do that. But anyway, most people will release us. You leave the other one blank. You're still initialing them as the instructions say. And then you're going to have it signed and notarized. The California Notarial Act is different from the other hold harmless agreement. That's why we do that for California. We set that up. So that's the distinction in that. So just so you know, now you can move forward, Walt. Someone had a question. Okay, follow up. I've been living in one of the 50 states all my life. I already have a U.S. passport. So would I just need to choose my status of residency, domicile, citizenship? It isn't about residency. It's not about where you live. It's about your habitation and domicile. That's the place you intend to return to. What does that mean? It's going to be the place where you only have your driver's license, your only place where you'd be allowed to vote, be the only place you would be on a jury. That's habitation and domicile. Sometimes in those things they're using the word residency. That's just because the courts and whatever are conflating those terms. They're not the same term, because you have to make a distinction that you have your dwelling in that place where you have habitation and domicile. So that's where you would do that. You already have a passport, so you would turn in your existing passport book and card or whatever, turn it in. You'll be letting the State Department know that you are correcting the previous errors on your application, and you'll be filling out new application, not a DS-82 renewal. It's going to be new application. We've had clients that just get passports without, like from Copper Moonshine or whatever that is. And so they have to do them over again. So they just get a new passport book and card, and they're turning them in because they're going to let them know the application of it had errors concerning their proper citizenship and nationality, blah, blah, blah. And so they're going to do, and the State Department doesn't ask questions. They just do new passport book and card, punch holes in the old ones, give them back. We see that all the time. So it isn't about residency. So it says, so would I need to choose my state of habitation domicile? Well, of course. You can choose Texas if you feel like you want to live in Texas. Any state, I would always recommend a state that doesn't have an income tax, because that just takes away that bureaucracy that you have to do with that. And I don't know whether Texas has an income tax. Maybe they do. Again, they base it in the federal. So pick a state that doesn't. It doesn't matter where you have your habitation domicile. Set it up, pick a dwelling there, rent it out, or have You want to make sure that it's your house. It's not just rental property. And then have that address get a place for mail, as well as, that it's a place you intend to return to, even if someone's staying in your home or something like that. But the idea is that have your habitation and domicile, and then live anywhere you want, travel around. I mean, for as long as you want. Maybe most of the time, maybe you have a place in the very northern part of the United States, like North Dakota, that's cold as ever. And you want to live everywhere else except for there, but that's where you have your habitation domicile, and that's where you maintain. That's that's the that's your choice. Okay. Um, you've been on a path to renounce my U.S. citizenship prior to hearing about this. I think it's better. I have a moral compunction to relinquish, renounce. Yeah, really, you don't have to relinquish or renounce anything. You'll be dealing with that concept in your passport process. You'll be letting the State Department know that you've had errors concerning that. Because here's what I'm making up about this federal citizenship you have. I'm making up that no one ever asked you to make this choice. You just did what everybody does, and you filled out papers the way everybody suggests you fill out paperwork. And nobody said, oh, here's your choice. Do you want to be a citizen of the District of Columbia, or in which you don't, the Constitution doesn't protect you, in which we can write laws dealing with alcohol, tobacco, firearms, you tax your labor, tell you that you have to do certain healthcare things and all that. We're going to give you a crappy welfare to be a part of, and we're going to serve big pharma while we make you sick by telling you some of your food's okay, even though it has poison. That kind of relationship. Did anybody ask you if you wanted to do that? No. So you just walk on and say, look, I'm not a part of that crap. Goodbye. F you. We're on to something else. You don't have to renounce crap. This is not expatriation, okay? That's where you buy yourself out of the federal zone. Be done, complete, say adios, be done. Your passport process will declare such and move on. Wipe the dust off your feet. Don't be bitter, okay? Um, and of course, listen, it's your life. If you want to write him a scathing letter, who would you write it to? And who would care? Nobody did this. I want you to know, take on the posture. You brought this on yourself because you didn't read the 1935 Social Security Act. You never read all these forms. You filled out tax forms saying that they're true, correct, and complete. What the hell do you know about the tax code? Nothing. And yet you said under penalty of perjury, they're true, correct, and complete. I remember being in a hotel where they wanted me to fill out a form about if I'd ever been with someone who had COVID, in the last 2 weeks. I said, how the hell do I know if I was around someone with COVID the last 2 weeks? And I turned around the lobby full of people, all wearing masks. I said, anybody here had COVID? Have COVID? No. I don't know. Who the hell is here? So I wrote on the form, not an expert in COVID, have no clue. Sign my name. See, it just shows the absurdity of the whole thing. How is the federal government able to provide passports to a state citizen which isn't a state, foreign to the federal government? All the states are foreign to the federal government, okay? On our documents, it says that they're foreign to the federal government. The federal government's foreign to all other governments in the world. All the states are foreign to all other governments in the world, okay? The states are foreign to each other. So foreign is to each other. Domestic for all of these entities is within their own jurisdiction, okay? All of them have those and use those terms. So that's how the federal government is foreign to the state, okay? And it says, when isn't a state foreign to the federal government? To that end, what does your passport show that you are? The passport doesn't show what you are. It's a U.S. passport, same as any other United States citizen. It does say your name on it. That's different from everybody. It will say the the state or the location of your birth. If you're born in a foreign country, it'll say where you were born. It's on your passport, your date of birth, place of birth. That's on the passport. It's You're not signing off that the passport book is correct. You're signing off that your application is true and correct. That's where you have your explanatory statement. That's what you're going to get certified by the Secretary of the United States as true and correct. So it's not, it's, remember the Browns trial, they didn't have their passports proving who they were. They had their application. It was their own testimony that proved who they were or what they were about. Someone says, I was shanghaied into this system. I like that word. I was shanghai. It's like I was riding on the horse down, and a group of these people shanghaied me out back. Does anybody use Shanghai today? Wait a minute. I think that's kind of a racist term, isn't it? Isn't that some Asian kind of term? Shanghai. I love that. You should say that. Honey, how come you're late to dinner? I was shanghaied, honey. I had to stop off at the bar for some drinks. No, into the system, deceived about it, and paid dearly to continue to be a part of it. Uh, I just want to divorce this. I love that sentiment. That's good stuff. Um, yeah, you're gonna have a full. It's like a death in the family. At first, you're denying it. Then you're gonna get angry. Then you're pissed off. Then so all the stages of grief are gonna happen. Damn, I paid in. They didn't get you. They didn't get you. Okay, you are. It's great that you're wherever you are in your life and you're deciding to pull out of the federal zone. Good for you. Those idiots think they can buy your vote and your allegiance by offering you crap. Don't take their crap. It's just great to do this. So I want to divorce this. Yes, that's what we're doing. We're helping you divorce the nonsense there. So as a Canadian, can I file as a U.S. national? Yeah, a U.S. national is a federal citizen or it's a U.S. person. So you're not going to, you can do that if the federal government wants to do that with you. We don't do anything with U.S. national, okay? Get your terms correct, okay? So we don't do that. And it says with his passport. You can do that, but the problem is that when the State Department is doing passport process, they're going to be looking for a birth certificate or they're going to be looking for a naturalization certificate. Now, if you're stateside and you want to naturalize into your state, that's a different process than the federal zone. But that's something for another day we can talk about. But no, you probably won't be able to get a passport if you're born in Canada and you're a Canadian. Is it possible as a non-state domiciled in Canada with such U.S. nationals? Yeah, all that's convoluted. I can't help you in that way. And why would you want to connect yourself to America? Why don't you do these processes right there in Canada? It is possible. And by the way, I am going to do a call at some point for Canada about these processes in Canada. We have a list of people that have asked about that, and I will set something up. Probably won't be in the next couple of weeks because I'm doing some important work out of town. So, but we will do that. Person says, I like to have I'd have to pick and choose my state and go through approximately a 2-year state waiting process, similar to U.S. residency wait. I'm not sure. Is that oh, that's a weird. The image on there is covering up. Do I have to pick my state again? If you set up habitation domicile, then naturalize into your state, without the feds. That's what I would recommend. But anyway, we'll talk about that on the Canadian thing. It says, could you refer to someone who would know how to guide me in similar project? I heard from Jeff Berwick that there was someone, but I understand that he wasn't doing that for other people. He had just done it for himself. So on some, maybe at some point he might want to be helping people with that. I don't know, but But again, if I had that information, I would be glad to pass it on, but I don't have anything for that. And it says here, prisoner like myself. Um, Not sure if Ottawa province. Yeah, I would say what I know is that Canada is also a federation or a conglomerate of some sort of states. Those provinces are their separate countries. They are countries, and so that's why Quebec wants to always pull out because they don't like to be a part of the union in Canada anymore. So it's for me. Thank you for sharing this. I'm just waiting for my crypto to increase before moving forward. That's cool. The hell with them. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, if you're going to do crypto, that's fine. We love, that's one of the ways we make services available for that. You'd have to reach out to me personally, and I'll, of course, give you those addresses for that. And we, people, I don't take all cryptos. I have some major ones that we take. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, I'll take Monero and R, those cryptos. And we've taken Dash and also Litecoin, have some of that. So, but generally speaking, we take those major ones. So if you have that and you want to do that, we can do that as well. So so keep the questions coming. I was going to address a couple things that I saw in some questions. Someone was making reference to, there was somebody, I won't say who, but there was somebody who worked very close to Dave Champion. He's got his book. I was just looking over some of that stuff. I have a copy of it. But his book was censored. Now, how does a judge censor a book? Where's the First Amendment in that? The truth is, federal citizens have no constitutional protections, okay? Being citizens subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That's how that stuff works. Do you understand? Okay? That's why they get away. And so he's not coming out of federal jurisdiction. And of course, he's being ordered in federal tax courts to do or not to do certain things. And so it's like, it doesn't make sense. And yet, if you understand federal jurisdiction, you'll see that this is congruent with the Constitution. So here's this person saying, of course, they're coming from wherever they are. I know the IRS is an illegal and criminal organization enslaving and extorting from every American. Listen, I don't agree with that. Okay. Now, let me qualify that statement I just made. Okay. Everything in the District of Columbia, without exception, is, damned to hell and is criminal in every capacity. Let me just say that. But if you understand federal jurisdiction, the IRS is doing exactly what people empower them to do. And no, the income tax is not unconstitutional, and people choose that stuff by their own paperwork. And you can change those things if you do different paperwork. So it's so lovely to not be on board all that crap and all. I'm of the opinion the federal government's upholding the Constitution. If you don't understand the Constitution, you won't understand how the Constitution, the federal Constitution, has empowered the federal government to do exactly what they're doing. My answer is repeal the federal Constitution, make America states again, send the bastards home, and let these states, as the separate countries they are, go back to the Articles of Confederation and have a loose general friendship with each other and let people enjoy their heritage and enjoy each other the way it was supposed to be organically. That's what I want. So anyway, that's some of those things people might not understand. Someone was talking about permits in your state and all that. Our alignment workshop deals with every place you're asked, are you U.S. citizen, or if you have to provide social security number, things like that. So all those processes are the same. You have to look at the forms, see who they're for and all that stuff. You may be able to say, no, you're not a U.S. citizen, but then again, they may not want to have you do certain activity in the state. that activity may only be available for federal citizens, and so you may not qualify for that activity in that state. Then again, if you say yes, you might have to qualify what definition of the term United States you're using. Again, we handle this in the alignment workshops. If you do the full passport process or you do the passport workshop, both those fees include all of our workshops and our alignment workshop that helps you deal with that. We have those tax documents for you, W-8, W-9. And of course, if you're doing the full passport process, that state citizenship class is part of your package. It is included in that. We require the passport workshop client to take the state citizenship class because we believe it's an important freedom primer in this category so that you can understand what it is that you're doing. Person says in Miami, so is there anything different about the passports you get? No. It's different about the application you produce. Just be clear about that. Does it indicate that you're a citizen of the United States? It doesn't indicate that. It says, I think it may say on the I could look it up, I guess, but it may say citizen of the United States of America, or it may just say United States of America on the front of the passport, but it doesn't say you are a citizen one way or another. But let me just qualify that even if it did, okay? Because I am a United States citizen and I'm not a United States citizen. Both those terms, both those statements are correct. It depends on the definition of the term is. No, it depends on the definition of the term United States in order for to understand whether you are a United States citizen. Many times I tell our clients, don't be quick to say, no, I'm not a United States citizen. Qualify if that's the right answer. But if you don't qualify if it's the right answer, you may be wrong. And you don't want to be wrong with respect to that subject matter. Does it indicate blah, blah, blah? Then someone says, the company is working for actually had state national as a choice to choose from never saw that before on a form. Well, there are two categories on the passport application that you're swearing, that you are a citizen of the United States or a non-citizen national. A citizen or non-citizen national of the United States. Non-citizen national is for those who were born in America, Samoa, or Swains Island. That's what a non-citizen national is. So that's a choice that's on there. So, but I don't know what you're referring to the company there. Do companies have to issue 1099s to non-federal citizens? I just want to address this while I'm thinking about it. Everybody stop calling yourself a non-something. Now, that being said, we refer to ourselves as a non-resident alien. I get that. But don't refer to yourself as non-citizens of some sort, because they have these terms, non-citizens, okay? So you're not a citizen, okay? Or just say what you are, not so much what you're not. Let's see. I just want to make sure. Is there anything different about that? It says something else, and we do have an explanatory supplement. It's true. Do companies have to issue 1099s to a non-federal citizen contractor? That would be, do companies have to issue 1099s to a non-resident alien? The answer is no. If you're exempt and you don't have an income tax liability, which on our forms we show you're exempt, then they don't have to do a 1099. A lot of times they're doing it on the computer. So many of our companies, people that contract with these people, have just not filled out anything for them on the website. They just move on, don't have it in there. But they have to keep the W-8, W-9 on file in case they're audited. When they're saying, what about this? they'll say, well, we have a certificate of foreign status and they are non-resident aliens. That would be appropriate, and that takes care of the company so they're not bothered by IRS. So, and you should never, not that you did, but you should never refer to yourself as a 1099 contractor, because you're not. Federal citizens that contract are 1099, or that's 1099, but you're not doing 1099. It's their informational return. It's not your informational return. So don't refer to yourself as a 1099 anything. But how do they deduct the payments as it? Yeah. Well, first of all, none of your business how the company takes care of its tax forms. It's like, listen, if I leave the plantation and I work for the plantation, not as a slave, but I work for them, are they going to be okay with respect to how they're being taxed? Well, the hell with them how they're doing it. But yes, they do. They deduct by having those documents on file. They can deduct in professional services or some other thing. A lot of times they're being compelled to provide certain things, but your W-8, W-9 shows as exempt, and that's what we've seen. I used to work for H&R Block, the tax preparer. Did work for them. Gave them my W-8, W-9. Wasn't a problem. They gave me a check every month, and never ever sent me any 1099. It seems the federal government's reference when it comes to passports is to a national relative to being their title for state citizen, i.e. allegiance to the state. All that Title 8 national stuff is federal U.S. person stuff, and none of that has to do with you, okay? And never forget the word state is the District of Columbia in those Code of Federal Regulations. So don't misunderstand. You're going to need to get your terms correct. Watch that state versus federal citizenship class. That's a 6-hour class. It's only $385. That'll show you that the income tax is constitutional. It'll show you who has an income tax liability. Then you can determine whether you want to move forward and do that. So someone says also, how does one get certified copy of their explanatory statements and affidavit? Well, after the passport process, we do a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, and we do that for our clients in the full passport process. For those that are doing the passport workshop, we have information in that workshop that shows them how to, what is needed for the FOIA request for the State Department. So we have all those addresses and things. So when we do the process for the client, we do all that paperwork for them. When people do the workshop, they do that paperwork for themselves. Then you'll get certified copies, wedding signatured, sealed, and all of them are certified because they number every page in the certification and they list it and all that stuff. It's quite impressive. That's what you can use in court if you ever find yourself in court, which we've never found any of our clients in court. How does one, okay, you did that one, all right, so that's good. So anyway, moving on, just people were talking about trusts and certainly like dealing with their state government at the same time. Someone asked about how to send cash. I always recommend that you track cash. Many people will do them registered mail. It's more expensive, but they'll manifest each stage along the way. We've never lost any cash that was tracked over the years. We have lost cash that was not tracked. It was just in an envelope. We have received money that wasn't tracked, but the only time we lost money was when it wasn't tracked. So be sure to track that. We don't want you to lose anything. And of course, you're responsible for those decisions. Just getting to some of these questions that people, someone wants to contact me personally. And look, normally if people reach out to me, I'm glad to talk this way. And if I can answer a quick question on a phone call, I don't mind it. But there's just too many people calling all the time for me. I could spend all day on the phone, So if you want some consultation, you can sign up for that, fill out the hold harmless agreement. You can pay $450. I'll be glad to talk with you about your situation, all that. And then that way, we'll give you my cell phone and we'll work that out. Okay, so let's see. Let's see here. So some questions about the website. Again, you can email us at statecitizen@destinationfreedom.org. That's where you're going to send your documents, your hold harmless agreement once it's notarized. That's when, if you're going to do the full passport process, that's where you're going to upload your DS 11 so that we can fill out your documents. We're not going to use your DS 11. We have a specific DS 11 designed for this process, and so it's special. And so we'll fill that out, and we'll go over that in a review with you. We'll go over all of our documents, and then you'll be able to. Then we'll mail the packet to you, talk to you about what to expect at the post office um, or the passport agency. In a unique situation, right now I'm in Florida. I'm going to be doing some naturalization work in Florida. I'm looking forward to doing that for someone who wants to be naturalized into Florida. Um, when we leave and heading back to New Hampshire, going through Atlanta and assisting a client at a passport agency, um, and that'll be exciting to go in there and see how they feel. You know, it'll just be fun. It's like when you have confidence, or you know how they do this. You're not bothered by someone saying no or whatever. We just do the way we always do. We'll accomplish it every single time. People talk about setting up um, LLCs and all that stuff. Listen, if you want to be free from tyranny, government tyranny, you can't be connected to government by corporations, okay? Remember, that's fascism, okay? When you do your business in your private capacity, you're not having corporations, not C Corps, S Corps, LLCs, nothing. You, in your personal private capacity, have a right to do certain things, okay? And so therefore, um, that's an important part of your liberty and freedom, is just being responsible for yourself. Someone says, if a piece of property has been sold and a 1099 submitted by real estate, will change my status. By real estate, will changing my status affect my paying taxes over this transaction? Yeah, we have a workshop called 1445, IRS 1445. That's the section of the tax code that governs that property, that they call a United States real property interest. Because when you bought the property, or if depending on which party member you are in that, when the property was originally purchased, there were presumptions, because they were both federal citizens, that it was a United States real property interest. And of course, what happens is it creates a tax liability for the one receiving the funds. Of course, the IRS wants a piece of your real estate transaction. And so, as a non-resident alien, you'll be providing them W-8 and W-9. You'll sign, if you won't sign any form that says I am not a United States citizen. You are a non-resident alien. They're going to want to say you're not a non-resident alien. You are. I was doing a real estate transaction here, and they had a form that said they wanted me to agree that I am not a non-resident alien. I say, but I am. I'm non-resident to the District of Columbia, and I'm alien. I said, so this form doesn't work for me. Here's my form. And it was great because I explained it to the guy that was doing all the paperwork and stuff. He was going through every line. I was reading everything. And he says, I think this transaction is not going to happen. Let me go and talk to him. So he came back, finished the transaction. We didn't fill out that form. And then the gal that was facilitating the real estate transaction, she comes back and say, if you could get me that W-8 and W-9, that would be great. I'm like, okay, cool. So I came back to the hotel room, and I have my printer and all my work here. And so I printed out those forms, put them all together, nice and neat, put the requester's name on there, our account number on there, and I submitted to them. We're fine. They may or may not do a 1099. They certainly have a social security number from me. I definitely marked it as for informational purposes only. I never claimed to be a federal citizen. All that's in there. So they may do a 1099 or something. They're not giving me any money. There's interest and stuff and all that. But it doesn't matter. That's their testimony. My paperwork has to be exactly the way we're doing it here. So that's cool. Let me see if I didn't miss anything here. Someone says, in Florida, which part? I'm currently in Orlando area. I'm in Orlando. I'm on International Drive. So anyway, we're leaving this area on Friday. So it'll be have to get together for a beer before we split out. But anyway, yeah, we'll be here tomorrow. Uh, and then we're going to head up toward the villages, hang out there with my uncle and aunt. Then we'll be over towards Pensacola over that way, having a good time. And I'm working, so um, let's see. Just read all the fine print in my U.S. passport. Only one time did I see the word citizen, which is the statement from the Secretary of State's request, which states citizen national of the U.S. Um, it's that citizen stuff is in the oath. That's where it's at. So if you're looking at the bottom of page 1, that's where the acceptance agent writes things. So in that box, it's square. There's an oath in there, and it makes reference to citizen. So that's where that is. How does your status change affect getting married? I would not ever license a marriage. That's a right, a spiritual thing. I'm monogamous, so um, get married, but don't license. It's that's a church thing. Or a civic organization or whatever your faith is. I don't know, but it's not a governmental thing. Okay, so get married, document everything. You want to record it, it's fine. Do a certificate of holy matrimony. Have your official sign off on it. You and your spouse sign off on it. Have your best man, maid of honor sign off on it. So you have a number of signatures all witnessing. Okay, make sure their names are on it and all that's accurate. Maybe even their addresses. You could do stuff on the front, back, whatever it is. I would keep it all in the front document in some capacity. Um, have it make it beautiful and state that it's a spiritual thing and that what God joins, because that's what it's important about. Let no man put asunder, and then don't worry about licensing it. Okay, everything's fine. Stay away from the state. Let them know you're not interested in a menage a trois. So, at least not with the state. So, but do that. Get married, but don't do a license. You don't need to do that. Listen, here's the thing too. You retain all your rights. If you're connected with someone for a number of years, certainly they would refer to a common law marriage after 7 years. But the truth is, at any time you can sue with respect to relationships or what you're agreeing to or whatever it is. So, your right to sue, you're always retaining if you can make the case about something, certainly property or whatever the deal is. The moment that one party goes to the state to facilitate or do something, then the state will impose their regulations and controls on the children. Because the state alleges they have the best interest of your children. Do you need a marriage license? No. Can you still do a marriage in the state in which you live? You can get married anywhere. Listen, in Holland, they only get married in churches or at the city hall. When I went to marry my wife, we got married at her house. We found someone that would do the ceremony. She was so jazzed to not do according to what the state wanted. I wasn't interested in the state being involved in our life anyway. So we got married, and then, I have my bride here. So does completing the passport process in 2024 impact the tax year? Yeah, if you are not a federal citizen or resident alien, you're not going to have an income tax liability. You're the one that has to determine that for yourself. So, but again, sure, it could if that's what you choose. What a name! Would you assist for a fee, of course, with filing a first go around? Have no idea what you're talking about. Filing the first go around. We'll be glad to assist you in these processes because we do that. Go to the DestinationFreedom.org website, and of course, we'll be glad to go the first around with you. I don't know what you're referring to. I think you're being figuratively, whatever that first around means. The actual passport page says nationality, not citizen, FWIW. Okay, no question for me. Remember, the application is for federal citizens and resident aliens, okay? They don't make this application for state citizens. We make it for state citizens, okay? Um, or is there no filing except for checking a box? Again, I don't know what that means, no filing. Are you talking about a passport application? Or are you talking about a 1040 form? I don't know what you're referring to in your communication. Sorry about that. I wish I could answer that, but I don't know. Person says, yes, exactly. The marriage license is a contract with the state. It's not a contract with the state. It's maybe an implied contract, but the state doesn't have anybody. An application can't be converted into a contract. That the applications are applications, contracts are contracts. So it's not a valid contract in that way, but it does have implications that are not something that you might not agree with. So the government allow them to invoke jurisdiction on you. And that's true. We do see that in their nature. How do we contact you for consultation? Well, you go to the Destination Freedom website, and at the top it'll say counsel assistance. And down there's a drop down. There's a button for consultation. You can sign up for that. Do the hold harmless agreement, and you can pay for that there, and we'd be glad to set that up in there. Or you can go to State Citizen at DestinationFreedom.org. You can request a phone call in some capacity. I don't know that we'll give you that. We'll consider it. Be sure to write in there what you want to talk about, and we'll either invite you into one of these calls. Next week, we'll do it with GoToMeeting. You'll be able to ask yourself. If it's personal nature, then you might want to consider consultation in that, and be glad to help in some capacity. So anyway, so I think we're going to wrap up here, and I thank you all for being on, and it's great to see so many people on the call. Next week, we'll probably do GoToMeeting, and you can be a part of that. That's more interactive, where you can ask questions, and we've done that before. And see, now that's how it works. They just ask questions. And is it possible that the term national on page 1 of the passport can refer to a state citizen? Of course not. Okay. Listen, a U.S. national is federal. Okay. Anything with U.S. on the front of it is going to be federal. Okay. So if you look at Title 8, you're going to see it's a U.S. person. So no, it doesn't refer to state citizen. It doesn't at all. Given that there's no other official identification. Listen, all right, I'll give you the official. I grant official. Listen, when you sign your application under penalty of perjury, it is official, okay? Quit giving away your power looking for the pedophiles to say it's okay for you to be free. Declare your truth and stand by it. So help you God. So don't give away your power looking for them to give you permission. You'll have certified copies signed by the Secretary of the United States. That'll be as official for you as you need, okay? Their notation, yeah. Don't give away your power. Private message me if you want to get that beer. I don't know how to private message you here. I guess I could comment on that if I want to get that beer. I have beer. I have, oh, this is 0. That's not beer. No, yeah, just reach out to State Citizen. We'll see if we can locate, if we can end up getting that beer. Otherwise, we'll have to do it some other time, but I'll be up in near Ocala or up in that area there. So that'll be kind of fun. It's always good to get around beers. Okay, last one's here. Thanks so much for sharing. I'm delighted that it was helpful for you. You're taking a state citizen class. Listen, take those classes. I mean, you're going to get filled up. I think it'll really bless you a lot. You'll be able to have 0. No, not beer. 0. Yeah, I know. I just started seeing if I like the taste of it. it is zero. Yeah. My siblings don't recognize that as in the beard category. Okay, it's just the taste. It's all cool. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. It's a joy to be with you and to talk with you. Thankful so much for your stuff. We're working through everybody's stuff. We won't miss anybody, but and you have been patient. Please keep patient. If you tap into the website and you sign up for things, and of course, if you're paying, then we'll move forward with you and all that stuff. And again, we try to answer all these questions as best we can. Thanks so much for tonight. You guys are the best. Oh yeah, remember they say like and subscribe. That's always helpful. It's really great to see how the YouTube channel is growing, and at some point we will have sister channels on BitChute and Odyssey and other places like that. We'll put all of our videos on both those platforms so that we're diversified. So, all right, take care. I love you. We'll see you around. God bless you. You're the best.